Most people would scream when they found the forged signature. I poured a second cup of coffee. It was 6:14 on a Tuesday, and the email in front of me showed my name signed on a sale contract I had never seen. He thought that signature ended me. It was the reason he lost everything 90 days later. Let me back up. I started the company in a rented storage unit with 2 folding tables and a laptop that overheated if you looked at it wrong. No investors, no partners. Just me, a supplier who took a chance, and 4 years of 18-hour days. By the time my husband Marcus joined as co-manager, the business had a warehouse, 9 employees, and a name people actually trusted. I brought him in because I loved him. That is the part I still have to sit with. For a while it was good. He was charming with clients. He learned the numbers fast. So when he offered to handle the banking and the paperwork so I could focus on operations, it felt like partnership. I signed a limited authority form giving him the ability to manage day-to-day accounts. 1 form, 1 signature. I remember thinking it was a gift to us. It was the door he had been waiting for. Back to that Tuesday. The email was from a bank I did not recognize, confirming a pending sale of company assets to a buyer called Meridian Holdings. My name was on the seller line. The signature looked like mine. It was not mine. I had never heard of Meridian Holdings, and I had never agreed to sell anything. Here is where most stories have someone panic. I did the opposite. I opened a blank notebook, wrote down the date and the time, and started asking one question at a time. Who was Meridian Holdings? I looked it up. It was a shell company, registered 6 weeks earlier. No website, no employees, no history. A company built to hold something and hide who was holding it. That answer did not close the door. It opened a bigger one. If Meridian was empty, who was behind it? I pulled the incorporation filing. The listed officer was Dana, my business partner of 2 years, the person who ran my client accounts. For a second, I felt relief, which sounds insane. Dana cannot afford to buy my company. Something did not add up. So I asked the next question. Where would the money come from? I went into the company books, really went in. Not the summary Marcus showed me at our Sunday meetings, the raw transaction log. And there it was. For 11 months, small amounts had been moving out of the operating account. A consulting fee here, a vendor payment there. Nothing large enough to trigger an alarm on its own. Together, it was almost $200,000. The money was flowing to an account I had never seen, a joint account, and I was not on it. That answer opened the biggest door yet. Who was on it? 2 names, Marcus and Dana. My husband and my business partner on a private account funded by the company I built. It was not 1 betrayal. It was 3, stacked on top of each other, and each one was load-bearing. The account had been opened 11 months earlier, the exact same week I signed that limited authority form and told Marcus he could handle the paperwork. He had not taken advantage of an opportunity. He had engineered the opportunity, then walked through it on schedule. Then I found the calendar, hotel confirmations, weekend supplier trips that matched, to the day, the weekends they were meeting clients in separate cities. The affair was the reason 2 people were willing to do this together and keep it quiet. I had every reason to explode, to burn it all down that morning. I did not, because I found one more thing, and it changed everything. When Marcus set up the sale, he had forged my signature on the contract, but he had never changed the ownership on file with the state. On every legal document that mattered, I was still the sole owner of the company, which meant the entire sale rested on one thing, my signature. A signature I never gave. If I screamed now, he would simply stop. He would shred the contract and blame Dana. But if I stayed quiet, and let him carry that forged document all the way to a closing table, the forgery would no longer be a private accusation. It would be a signed, witnessed, documented crime. His crime, on paper. So I poured that second cup of coffee, and I said nothing. For the next 3 weeks, I was the calmest wife in the world. I used that time to see a lawyer, just to understand exactly what I was holding. The closing was scheduled for a Friday morning at a title office downtown. He told me he had a long meeting and might be late for dinner. I told him to drive safe. He did not know my attorney would be at that title office too. Marcus and Dana arrived to close the sale to Meridian Holdings, the shell they controlled. And then my attorney introduced herself as counsel for the actual and sole owner of record. She noted calmly that the seller whose signature appeared on the contract had never authorized the sale. The room went cold. The sale collapsed on the spot. The forged signature was now sitting in front of a notary and 2 attorneys, documented, witnessed, and impossible to walk back. I did not take anything that was not already mine. I invoked the ownership clause that had been true the entire time. I removed Marcus as manager. I removed Dana from every client account. I closed the door they had propped open, and this time I locked it. By the end of that day, they had no company, no sale, and a paper trail with both their names on it. Everything I did was legal. I simply stopped protecting a man who was counting on me to protect him. Marcus came home that night and asked what was for dinner. I told him I had already eaten and that my attorney would be in touch about the rest. He thought losing the company was the end of it. Then the buyer's lawyers started asking where the $200,000 that funded that shell account had actually come from, and the answer led somewhere neither of them expected. That is the update, and I will post it next.